Well, I was born and raised a Texas Tech Red Raider, so I went to Texas Tech University, got a degree in accounting, and also have a CPA certificate and a certified fraud examiner certificate.
I did not come from a accounting background, but I graduated from Southern Nazarene University in Oklahoma, and then spent some time as a teacher and educator, but now have gone in and I have my certified fraud examiner certificate, and really feel like the skills that I brought from those other professions that I had have come in with the education, teaching, problem solving, puzzle solving, dealing with people. All of that came from that background as well.
Well, I learned while I was at my accounting firm doing normal annual financial statement audits. Anytime we would run into something fraud related, some type of internal fraud, embezzlement, anything of that nature, basically the passion in me became obviously prevalent. And so it was at that point in time that I realized this is what I want to focus on. And my desire then throughout those years was to eventually start a company that was focused solely on the prevention, the investigation, detection of white-collar crime. And so I felt like the time was right 10 years ago to do that, and have never looked back since that point in time.
The first thing is that you work with people and you help people. Sometimes in really tough situations, and sometimes it's not always an investigation. Sometimes it's a internal control consulting. We meet people all over the country. We meet people from all sorts of walks of life, all sorts of industries, and we get to connect with them. And this is a very relational job. We have relationships with clients that we finished work with years ago that will still call and ask questions, that we are able to visit with, that sometimes we see at big corporate events or trade shows or speeches that happen, and there's still people that we are connected with and friends with. So I like the relational aspect of this job, and then I really like the puzzle solving, problem solving element of this job. I always tell people they think it's a very clandestine, secretive work, and I said, yeah, most of it is just sitting doing Excel spreadsheets and going through bank statements, but I like that part of it, putting it together. And working on problems that need to be explained, not through what an opinion would be, but through what the facts say, through what the documentation says.
And I think one of the things that I like the most about it also is the fact that there really are no 2 days that are ever the same. You know, whatever we may have planned for a morning, for the day, usually by 8:15, that is already gone by the wayside, and we have to start over and redirect. And when you have as many active cases as we have going, every day is as unplanned. And so not only is it difficult to plan because people don't necessarily steal according to a schedule, we get to change routes quite frequently. And so that's one of the things that I like most about it. It doesn't get mundane. It doesn't get routine. It's every day's a new day. Regarding our investigation practice and what we have investigated, probably the largest fraud that we have worked was a situation with a loss of about $65-70 million. It dealt with a Ponzi scheme, and those are interesting in and of themselves, but to think about the amount of money that investors lost in that situation is staggering. So it's about $65-70 million.
I think it's not the largest one we've ever done, but we have worked on one for a very large company where the guy, the fraudster, was able to get away with about $3.5 million in 9 months. And that was from hiring to firing was about 9 months, and took about $3.5 million in that process. We've seen some much larger ones. that have gone on for many more years, and we've seen smaller ones that were longer, but that one just always sticks in my mind because it was like you get hired, you don't even work the full year, and you've tried to abscond with that much money.
Done pretty well for yourself.
Yeah, that's a good 9 months worth of somebody else's work. Yeah, this is not my question. I know who this is for.
There have been quite a few of those, but probably the most interesting confession I received was I was talking with a young lady that we knew had committed a fraud, and so I was in the process of trying to get the confession to the theft, basically from a cash register. And as I got deep into that confession, because all of these confession-seeking interviews a lot of times are like counseling sessions, and so as I got into that process, by the end of the process, this young lady said, well, I murdered my best friend because she was going to tell on me for committing this fraud. Technologically, I would say that's the key word. Not only is the investigation performed now with more precise technology, obviously much more intense technology, but the perpetrators of fraud are also using technology to commit the fraud, whereas in the past, when I first started this, really 37 years ago, there wasn't a lot of technology, a lot of ways that people could commit fraud through a computer. And so now we have the same frauds occurring. It's just being performed and effectuated through different technology than in the past. So that's going to be the biggest change that I would say just in my career. I don't know about you, Jeff.
I would say even so, I started with the company about 8 years ago, and just not this last year, notwithstanding with everything changing, the amount of paper that we deal with has changed even in the 8 years that I've been in this company. Now, we do still laugh at each other, and there are still banker's boxes in our vault. There are still places that we will go where they do not have a online record keeping or even a computer record keeping system. But the number of investigations, consultations, litigation support jobs we're able to do without ever touching paper, it all comes in digitally. We have our cloud server, like all of that has changed even in the 8 years that I've been here. And I am amazed by that we can do a whole project from start to finish without ever printing or marking on anything that's not in a computer.
Wow, that's a loaded question there. There's obviously a lot of things that I wish people knew when they started their own business for purposes of keeping it from being a failure. But the number one thing in answer to the question is you've got to understand the value of relationships. When you decide to open up shop, hang out a shingle that says fraud audits while you wait, that has a low chance of success unless you've got a long history of relationships, the ability to network. And so when I started this after my 26-year career in public accounting, I already had those relationships in place. And I have seen really through the last 10 years how important that was, how critical that was to be able to receive phone calls. People now knew what I was doing. And when they had the need, they knew who to call. And so relationships to me are the most critical thing in starting a business. And one would expect me to say, well, the thing I'm most proud of is conviction rate or number of cases with successful convictions and stuff like that. But that's really not the thing that I'm most proud of. Really, to me, the thing I'm most proud of is people. That's the operative word there. Not only the people in our company and the people that I have the pleasure to get to work with and those relationships that exist, but really the people that we're helping. We deal with some individuals and organizations in this job in some kind of unusual situations, not necessarily the greatest situations to be in. And so we really are victim assistance in our firm. And so I feel like the thing I'm most proud of is the ability to believe that what we're doing makes a difference in people's lives. Rather than just doing some work and collecting a fee, we want to make a difference in people's lives, and I think that's what we've done. My favorite thing outside of Dawson Forensics is family. Anything that has to do with being with family, with my wife, my kids, my grandkids, extended family. And if there's any way to do that outdoors, that's even better. So whether that's boating, hunting, whatever it is, family.
My answer is gonna be cheesy and sound like that too, but I have.
My answer was cheesy.
It was cheesy. It was good though. I'm not saying it wasn't good. I'm just saying it's gonna sound cheesy because I'm gonna say the same thing.
Oh, okay.
Which is I have 4 kids and they are 8 and under, and anytime I can spend time with them and my wife, like just, watching the world through the eyes of a little kid, whether we're playing games or we're at the park or they're learning how to play soccer or we're going fishing, any of that that we get to do and watching them just learn and spend time with us and with each other, playing with the dog, that's just about the best time there is. So, I'm more than happy to do this job, but anytime I get away and get to be with them and my wife is just about the best. Oh, I like this question. This is a good question. I like this. I want you to answer first.
Okay. Well, I would like to be a fireman, astronaut. No, not really. Not really. My answer is kind of goofy. But I always wanted to be a professional football player in the NFL. From all the way from high school football to now, that was what I thought I was going to do. Now, as time went on and I got a little bit older and realized that that's probably not a dream that was going to happen. So it always remained a dream and something that I always wanted to do. But now anything that would do with being outdoors, and it's been mentioned, game warden, that kind of stuff is pretty cool. So anything that has to do with outdoors, that's where I'd be, whatever that profession is.
Okay, so I'm going to give this answer, and I'm not even sure if my wife knew that this would be an answer that I would give. So I'm excited to see her see this and hear what I'm going to say. But from our office is located in West Texas. And from a young age, I was always interested in the weather. And so meteorology is very fascinating to me. So anything, any job. Now, I'm storm chaser is what comes to mind. Like that is the craziest. I watch those videos and see people do stuff, but I also think that those people are helping save people and they're doing science. So most people would probably expect me to say I'd like to be the drummer in a rock band, which would be tons of fun, but I feel like you'd be away from your family all the time, and that would be really awful. So living here where we are, I could do meteorology and storm chasing and be home a lot, be around while doing work during the intense seasons of that.
I have a hard time realizing it's been 10 years. When you're having fun, time really goes quick. And I believe that I'm having fun. I'm enjoying what it is that we do. And look forward to another 10 years, really, of helping people, providing victim assistance and feeling like we do really make a change in the world that we serve.
Every day, and I think Steve mentioned this earlier about we never know what a day is going to look like. We have this very cute job. We try to keep a Google Calendar between everybody in the office and where we're supposed to go and what project we're supposed to work on. And it's always changing constantly. Somebody will say, hey, did you see what I added or took off? But we make this joke always about what plates we're spinning and keeping spinning. And that has been the most fun part of this, is just working on so many things at one time, helping so many people, because I think we have a really good grasp on what we have the ability to do and to give service to people. We treat each client, when we're talking to them, that's who we are helping. And that is the number one client for that moment in that time. We're not ever trying to shove someone off. But we have the ability in this office with each other and with the support staff that we have to help a lot of people. And I look forward to doing that and continuing to grow and add people to our team that will just allow us to help others. We always joke about, people ask, like, why do you do education on anti-fraud tactics? Why do you help companies with prevention and detection? Or aren't you going to put yourself out of a job? And sometimes we joke, but that would be great. If there was no fraud, what a great world. But we're realistic, and we know that's not what's going to happen. And so we want to just help as many people as we can.